Have you ever felt a stirring in your soul? A fleeting memory, an emotion, or a sense of familiarity that seemed to come from somewhere beyond this life? A moment so vivid, so profound, it felt like a whisper from eternity itself. What if these sensations weren't mere coincidences, but sacred echoes of something greater, something divine? Imagine for a moment that these glimpses, these unexplainable connections, are not random. What if they are threads woven into the fabric of your existence by the Creator, a part of God's eternal design meant to guide you, awaken you, and remind you of a purpose far beyond what you see? This isn't just a question of curiosity, it's a question of destiny. Could these moments be the voice of God, calling His chosen ones to step into their divine purpose? What if what you felt, those flashes of déjà vu or spiritual recognition, are clues to the role you are meant to play in His grand story of creation? Stay with me, because what we're about to uncover could change the way you see your life forever. Today, we'll explore the biblical truths that speak to these mysterious experiences and how they may be signs of your unique place in God's eternal plan. But before we begin, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt an unexplainable connection to someone or a memory that didn't seem to belong to this lifetime? Perhaps a moment so profound that it left you questioning what it meant. If you have, I want to hear your story. Comment below and share your experience. Your voice matters, and it might inspire others on this journey. And if this topic resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Together, we are building a community of seekers, individuals drawn together by faith, curiosity, and the desire to uncover the deeper truths of God's plan. Let's step into the sacred exploration together. Open your heart to the possibility that these moments, these sensations, are divine whispers, signs of something far greater, crafted by the one who knew you before you were born. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. These words from Jeremiah 1:5 are not just poetic. They are a profound declaration of how intimately God knows each of us. Before you took your first breath, before the world even knew your name, God had already woven your story into His eternal plan. This verse reveals something extraordinary, that your existence is not random. It is intentional, crafted with purpose, and aligned with a divine design that spans beyond time itself. Think about that for a moment. God knew your strengths, your struggles, your questions, and even your moments of doubt. He set you apart for a reason, a calling that fits perfectly into His grand narrative. Could it be that the memories or sensations you've experienced, the ones that seem out of place in this lifetime, are part of this divine knowledge? A spiritual echo reminding you of the role He has always intended for you? The Bible offers us another clue in Ecclesiastes 3:11, where it says, He has set eternity in the human heart. This verse reflects a profound truth about humanity. We are not just physical beings bound by time. Deep within, our souls carry the imprint of eternity, a yearning to connect with something beyond this earthly existence. This could explain why some people feel an unshakable connection to experiences, places, or people that seem outside the boundaries of their current life. What if these feelings are God's way of calling your attention to the bigger picture? A reminder that you are part of a timeless story, one that transcends the limits of a single lifetime. These imprints of eternity, placed within your heart, are not random. They are a spiritual compass guiding you toward your divine purpose. The Bible gives us a powerful example of this in the story of Elijah and John the Baptist. In Matthew 17:10-13, Jesus confirms that John the Baptist fulfilled the role of Elijah, saying, "Elijah has already come," and they did not recognize him. This isn't about reincarnation. It's about the continuation of God's purpose through time. John carried forward Elijah's prophetic spirit and mission, demonstrating that God's plans are eternal and that certain roles or callings can transcend lifetimes. Could it be that your experiences, the ones that feel like glimpses into another time or place, are a reflection of the same eternal truth that God's chosen ones, those set apart for His purpose, carry within them an understanding that spans beyond the present moment? As we move forward, let's unpack what this means for you. These experiences are not just mystical. They are deeply rooted in God's eternal design. They point to a calling, a purpose that is uniquely yours. Now that we've seen how Scripture frames the eternal nature of God's plan, let's delve into 5 key truths about why these experiences occur and what they mean for God's chosen ones. Together, we'll uncover how these spiritual moments fit into the larger picture of God's divine story. Stay with me, because the answers we're about to explore could bring clarity and meaning to the experiences you've carried for so long. Truth 1. Divine callings are timeless. Have you ever felt that your life is connected to something far greater than what you can see or understand? That deep down, your journey has been carefully orchestrated for a purpose that seems to echo through eternity. These moments of awareness, where everything seems to align, may be signs of a divine calling, one that God prepared for you long before you were born. The story of Moses provides a powerful example of how God's plans transcend time. Moses was born into a world of oppression, yet he was spared from death and raised in Pharaoh's palace, the very heart of the system that enslaved his people. At the time, it may have seemed like a coincidence or even a contradiction, but as Moses grew, God used every aspect of his upbringing, his education, his exposure to leadership, even his eventual exile, to prepare him for his ultimate mission, leading the Israelites out of slavery. What does this mean for you? Perhaps those unexplainable moments of déjà vu, or the sense that you're meant for something specific, are glimpses of God's preparation in your life. Maybe your experiences, both the joyful and the challenging, are part of a much larger design. These feelings may not be memories of past lives in the literal sense, but rather spiritual echoes of God's eternal work in your soul, reminders that you are part of His timeless plan. This isn't just about the events of your life. It's about how God aligns everything to shape you for a purpose that's uniquely yours. Just as Moses' time in Pharaoh's palace prepared him to confront the very empire he grew up in, the circumstances of your life, whether clear or mysterious, are carefully woven into God's mission for you. Your calling is not confined to the here and now. It is eternal, stretching beyond what you can see, connected to a divine plan that has been unfolding since the beginning of time. Truth 2. Sacred recognition of souls. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant connection, as though your souls recognized each other? These moments can be so profound that they leave you wondering if you've known that person long before your paths crossed. This feeling, this sacred recognition, may not be tied to a past life, but to God's eternal plan for His chosen ones. The Bible gives us a profound example of this in the story of Mary and Elizabeth, when Mary, carrying the unborn Jesus, visited her cousin Elizabeth, who was pregnant with John the Baptist. Something extraordinary happened. At the sound of Mary's greeting, John leaped into Elizabeth's womb, and Elizabeth, filled with the Holy Spirit, exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear." Luke 1:41-42. This moment wasn't a simple family reunion. It was a divine acknowledgement of their shared purpose in God's plan. John, even in the womb, recognized the presence of the Messiah, and Elizabeth's spirit was moved to affirm Mary's calling. Their connection wasn't coincidental. It was orchestrated by God to strengthen and confirm the roles they were destined to play. Now think about the connections in your own life. Have you ever met someone who felt familiar, even though you couldn't explain why? Someone whose presence seemed to awaken something within you, a sense of clarity, purpose, or even peace. These moments of recognition are not random. They are sacred reminders of God's work in your life. When God brings His chosen ones together, it's often for a shared purpose. These connections may feel profound because they align with His eternal design. They remind us that we are not walking our journeys alone. We are part of a greater story, intertwined with the lives of others who are also fulfilling their divine missions. Such connections might be with a mentor who guides you, a friend who inspires you, or even a stranger whose words profoundly impact your spirit. Like Mary and Elizabeth, these relationships often come at pivotal moments, affirming your purpose and encouraging you to move forward in faith. These experiences are not about literal past lives, but about the eternal nature of God's plan. They reflect how God connects us to others in ways that transcend time, reminding us of the sacred bonds we share as His chosen ones. When you encounter these moments, embrace them. They are gifts meant to guide you closer to the role God has prepared for you. These truths are deeply tied to the topic at hand. Why some people feel echoes of the past, or profound connections that seem unexplainable. They are reminders that our lives are part of a divine tapestry, one woven by God to fulfill His eternal plan. As we move forward, we'll continue exploring how these experiences fit into the larger picture of being chosen by God for a purpose beyond this life. Truth 3. Trials as refinement for the soul. Have you ever wondered why life's most difficult moments often feel like they're shaping something deep within you? These challenges, though painful, often serve a divine purpose, refining your soul for the mission God has prepared for you. The story of Job offers a profound example of how trials can deepen our understanding of God and our place in His plan. Job, a man of unwavering faith, faced unimaginable suffering. He lost his wealth, his family, and his health, all in rapid succession. In the midst of his pain, Job wrestled with questions about God's justice and His purpose. Though his friends tried to explain his suffering through flawed reasoning, Job's journey ultimately brought him to a place of greater faith and humility. In the end, Job's trials revealed something extraordinary: the sovereignty and goodness of God, even in the face of human suffering. Job's faith was not only restored but strengthened, and his understanding of God became richer and more profound. Now think about the struggles you've faced. Could it be that those moments of hardship were not meant to break you, but to prepare you for something greater? Perhaps the feelings of spiritual déjà vu or memories of past struggles are God's way of reminding you of the resilience and strength He has built within you. Trials have a way of sharpening us, stripping away what doesn't serve our purpose and revealing the core of who we are meant to be. These experiences, though painful, are tools in God's hands, shaping your character, deepening your faith, and aligning you more closely with His plan. If you felt echoes of past challenges, moments that seem to resurface in your thoughts or dreams, perhaps they are divine reminders of how far you've come and how much stronger you've become. They serve as evidence that God has been at work in your life, refining you for the role He has set before you. Truth 4. God's timing is perfect. Have you ever looked back on your life and realized that certain people or events came into your world at exactly the right moment? These moments aren't coincidences. They are divine appointments, timed perfectly by God to align with His purpose for your life. The story of Esther and Mordecai beautifully illustrates the perfection of God's timing. Esther, a young Jewish woman, was chosen to be queen in a foreign land, a role that, at first glance, might have seemed disconnected from her heritage and purpose. But when the Jewish people were threatened with destruction, it became clear that Esther's rise to queenship was no accident. Mordecai, her cousin and mentor, reminded her of this truth, saying, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. Mordecai's guidance and Esther's courage aligned perfectly with God's plan to save their people. Esther's position wasn't just about privilege. It was about purpose, fulfilled at the exact moment it was needed. Reflect on your own life. Have there been times when a relationship, an opportunity, or a sudden revelation appeared just when you needed it most? These moments are not random. They are evidence of God's perfect timing. Perhaps the spiritual memories or sensations you've experienced are part of this divine timing. They may surface at critical moments to guide you, awaken your awareness, or remind you of your place in God's plan. These experiences aren't distractions. They are invitations to trust that God is at work, aligning your life with His greater purpose. Trusting in God's timing requires patience and faith. It's not always easy to wait for the pieces of the puzzle to come together. But when they do, the picture is more beautiful than you could have imagined. Recall experiences, those moments that seem to connect you to something greater, are often God's way of showing you that He is preparing you for a moment of significance, a moment where your purpose and His plan converge. When you feel the weight of timing or the mystery of spiritual memories, lean into them. They are not coincidences, but sacred clues, revealing how God's hand is guiding your journey toward the destiny He has always intended for you. Truth 5. Divine mentorship shapes souls. Have you ever met someone whose words or actions seem to unlock something within you, pushing you to grow, to question, and to transform? Certain relationships are not just chance encounters. They are divinely orchestrated connections, meant to guide and prepare you for the purpose God has placed on your life. The story of Paul and Timothy is a profound example of how God uses mentorship to shape the souls of his chosen ones. Paul, an apostle who had himself undergone a radical transformation, saw potential in Timothy, a young man of faith. Paul didn't just see Timothy for who he was. He saw who Timothy could become in Christ. Through letters, teachings, and personal guidance, Paul poured his wisdom and experience into Timothy. He encouraged Timothy, saying, "Do not neglect your gift, which was given you through prophecy when the body of elders laid their hands on you." 1 Timothy chapter 4:14. Paul's mentorship was more than instruction. It was empowerment. He gave Timothy the tools to embrace his calling, step into his leadership, and carry on the mission of spreading the gospel. This relationship wasn't one-sided. As Timothy grew into his purpose, Paul found fulfillment and joy in seeing the fruits of his mentorship. Their connection was a sacred partnership, demonstrating how God uses relationships not only to transform the mentee, but to enrich the mentor as well. Now consider your own life. Have you ever had someone who guided you spiritually? Someone who saw potential in you, even when you doubted yourself. These spiritual teachers may be God's chosen instruments, placed in your life to help you recognize and fulfill your calling. Their presence is no coincidence. It is part of God's plan to shape you into the person He created you to be. Or perhaps you felt a calling to mentor someone else, to share your wisdom, your experiences, and your faith with someone who is walking their journey. Divine mentorship is not about perfection. It's about obedience. Listening to God's prompting to pour into the life of another. These relationships, whether as mentors or mentees, remind us that we are never meant to walk this journey alone. God uses these connections to teach us, to sharpen us, and to prepare us for the roles we are destined to play in His eternal story. Think of the people who have impacted your life, who has inspired you to grow in faith, to step boldly into your purpose, or to see yourself as God sees you. These relationships are sacred, and they are evidence of God's hand at work in your life. And now, as we tie these truths together, the question becomes, how can you embrace your role in God's eternal story? Stay with me, because what we'll uncover next will bring these spiritual truths into focus, helping you see how they apply to your journey and your purpose. Together, we'll explore how to step boldly into the calling that God has designed for you. If you've ever felt a spiritual connection so profound, it left you wondering about its meaning, don't dismiss it. These moments, whether they come as an unexplainable bond, a sudden realization, or a feeling that transcends time, are sacred. They are not coincidences. They are God's whispers, calling your attention to His greater purpose for your life. These experiences are not meant to be ignored. They are invitations to draw closer to Him, to uncover the role He has set for you in His eternal story. So, how can you respond to this calling? Let's explore a few steps that can help you align with God's plan and gain clarity on these divine connections. First, turn to prayer. Ask God to reveal the deeper meaning behind these moments. Pray for wisdom and discernment to understand your role in His plan and the significance of the people or events that have touched your soul. Ask Him to show you how to nurture these connections and to guide you as you step boldly into your purpose. Next, spend time reflecting. Take a journal and write about the moments that have left a lasting impact on you. the relationships that have shaped your faith, the encounters that seem to defy explanation, and the sensations that stirred your spirit. These reflections may reveal patterns or insights that show how God has been at work in your life. Dive into God's Word. Meditate on Jeremiah 1:5, which reminds us that God knew us and set us apart even before we were born, and Psalms 139, a passage that beautifully speaks to how deeply and intricately God knows us. These scriptures can help you see that your experiences and connections are not random. They are intentional, divinely woven into His eternal plan. Finally, share your story. There's power in vulnerability and testimony. Comment below with a moment or connection that transformed your life. Your story might inspire someone else to reflect on their spiritual journey, helping them see God's hand at work in their lives. Together, we can build a community of seekers, united by the shared desire to uncover the sacred truths that God is revealing. These moments of recognition, these glimpses of something eternal, are gifts. They're opportunities to draw closer to God and embrace the purpose He has placed on your life. Don't let these sacred invitations pass you by. Reflect, act, and share. Because your journey is not just about you. It's part of a much greater, eternal design that God is unfolding through His chosen ones. Step boldly into your calling and trust that He will guide you every step of the way. Thank you for taking this journey with me and for opening your heart to these sacred truths. Your willingness to explore these mysteries speaks volumes about your faith and your courage. It is no small thing to search for meaning in the divine connections and spiritual moments that shape our lives. Your openness reflects a deep desire to grow closer to God and to understand the role He has called you to fulfill. Let me remind you of something extraordinary. You are not here by chance. You are part of God's eternal plan, a design that stretches far beyond what you can see. Every moment, every relationship, and every experience in your life has been placed there with divine intention. These are not random events. They are sacred pieces of a much greater puzzle, arranged by the Creator to guide you toward your purpose. The connections you've experienced, the challenges you've faced, and the moments that have stirred your spirit are all part of God's work in refining and preparing you. He sees you, He knows you, and He has set you apart for something uniquely yours. Even when the path feels unclear, trust that His hand is steady, leading you exactly where you need to be. Take heart in knowing that the journey you are on is not solitary. You are walking alongside a community of believers, seekers, and chosen ones, all striving to fulfill their part in God's story. Together, we are united in faith and purpose, bound by the shared truth that God's plan for us is both sacred and eternal. Thank you for being part of this moment, for your openness, and for your faith. You are chosen, loved, and called by the One who has known you since the beginning of time. Hold on to that truth and let it guide you forward with courage and hope. As we conclude, remember this: you are God's chosen one. Every moment of recognition, every unexplainable connection, and even the trials you faced are not random. They are divine whispers guiding you toward the truth of your eternal purpose. We've uncovered the biblical truths that remind us why some may feel echoes of the past, because God's plan for us is eternal. From timeless callings to sacred connections, From trials that refine to perfect timing, every experience is a piece of His grand design. Proverbs 27:17 reminds us, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. These divine connections refine us, prepare us, and align us with the greater mission God has set for our lives. If you felt those spiritual sensations or connections, don't dismiss them. They are God's way of calling you to embrace your role in His eternal story. Trust in His plan, nurture those connections, and walk boldly into the purpose He has prepared for you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this message resonates with you, subscribe and become part of this community of seekers. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And together, let's uncover the beauty of God's eternal design. You are not here by accident. You are chosen, loved, and destined for something far greater than you can imagine. Let that truth guide you forward.